No DQ Galaxy, we are live with a recap of Monday Night Raw for July 24th, 2023. We are getting very close to SummerSlam in Detroit, Michigan. Shout out to everybody watching this, whether it's live or on demand. Much love and appreciation to you all. Now, with that being said, let's get right down into the recap. We opened up the show with Judgment Day in the ring. Footage was shown of Dominic Mysterio winning the North American Championship. Rhea Ripley introduced him. Dominic came to the ring, heavily booed. A video package was shown of his accomplishments over the past year or so. Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn then showed up by the stage. They said nobody cares what Dominic has to say, ever. Zayn said that maybe Dominic could earn some respect if he faced one of them in a match. And on top of that, should put the North American Championship on the line. Rhea Ripley accepted the challenge on behalf of Dirty Dom. We had our first match of the evening, which was Becky Lynch versus Zoey Stark. Trish Stratus was out there once again wearing her mask. Yes, TJS, I will be recapping NXT this Sunday. Make sure you guys tune in for that. Becky got the early momentum, but then Stark took control with a springboard drop kick. After the commercial break, Becky started to make a comeback, but then Trish Stratus used her mask as a weapon, headbutting Becky. Zoey went for the pinfall, but Becky kicked out, and then Becky countered the Z360. Becky then delivered a superplex, applied an arm submission, but Zoey powered out of it. Then she went for the disarmor, but then Trish took off her mask and threw it in the ring. Zoey Stark tried to take advantage. She went for another springboard move, but Becky caught her, pinned her 1, 2, 3 with the manhandle slam. Match was solid, but very predictable. I think we all knew Trish was going to be out there interfering, and it wasn't going to matter in the end because you have to set up Becky Lynch versus Trish Stratus at SummerSlam. And if if Becky lost this, then she would not get her match and she would have to tattoo "Thank you, Trish." Although it would have been interesting to see if they had to come up with something if Zoey had won again, and then Becky would have to go out there and get on her knees and say "Thank you, Trish." But I think we all knew that this wasn't going to happen. We had some footage shown of Cody Rhodes and Brock Lesnar from last week's Raw. Cody came to the ring for his promo. He called Brock Lesnar Mr. SummerSlam, which is a fair moniker because Brock has been involved in many high-profile SummerSlam matches going back to his first run with WWE, beating The Rock in 2002. And then, of course, in recent years, the match with CM Punk, dominating John Cena, going in there with The Undertaker, Roman Reigns. Yeah, I think you could call Brock Mr. SummerSlam. Cody said he is going to embarrass Brock at SummerSlam. He's not poking the bear. He is slapping the bear, and he is going to beat Lesnar because that is what Lesnar deserves. And then he vowed to end things once and for all with Brock in their rubber match coming up at SummerSlam. Good promo here by Cody, no complaints, and Brock will be on next week's Raw. It's filler until SummerSlam, but it's a good promo here from Cody, and I'm sure Lesnar will do something crazy. Maybe they'll have a pull-apart brawl or something. We'll have to wait and see. Ricochet was backstage. He was interviewed, and he said that he doesn't understand why Logan Paul can just show up late to things. Is it because he's a YouTube star? He said that once Logan arrives, he's going to say what he wants to say, face to face. We had Sami Zayn versus Dominic Mysterio for the North American Championship. Sami Zayn took out Dominic on the outside with a dive early in the match, but then Rhea Ripley got involved. First, she took a cheap shot, and then she got on the apron. While she was distracting the referee, Damian Priest knocked Zayn off the top rope. Kevin Owens went after Damian Priest, but the referee turned around. Owens was ejected from the ringside area, but so was Damian Priest and Rhea Ripley. So it was down to one-on-one. Sami Zayn came off the top, but Dominic caught him with a drop kick. Zayn victory. No, he did not. He got it that one time, but that's it. Several weeks back or months back, whenever it was. Dominic did hit the 619, but Zayn kicked out. Dominic hit the Three Amigos, went up for the frog splash, but Zayn got his knees up, and then guess what happened, everybody? Damian Priest and Rhea Ripley returned. They had beaten up Kevin Owens backstage, and Sami Zayn's stupid babyface got distracted. Dominic picked up the win with the fruit roll-up. He rolled up Zayn and got the 1-2-3 victory. Yeah, match was good, but was not a fan of the distraction finish and Sami Zayn being an idiot and getting outsmarted. Whatever. Michael sent in a $2 super chat. Thank you for that, Michael. Says, Liv Morgan should have screwed Dominic out of this title. Well, Liv was busy with other things, and we'll get to Liv Morgan in just a moment. This was a very Judgment Day heavy show, by the way. And backstage, we saw Kevin Owens being checked out by medical. Now, apparently, Kevin Owens is hurt legitimately, and this angle was done to try and, I guess, capitalize on the injury and use it to advance the storyline. Hopefully he's not seriously hurt, but we don't really know the extent of it up to this point. We had footage shown of the Roman Reigns segment with Jey Uso, and then we had Tommaso Ciampa confronting Shinsuke Nakamura backstage, mad about being kicked last week, and he said he's got a score to settle with Bronson Reed, and he doesn't expect to see Shin out there unless they got a problem, the two of them, Ciampa and Nakamura. We had a backstage segment where Judgment Day randomly ran into Apollo Crews. Remember that guy? He's still employed. And Tozawa ran off, but Apollo stood up to Judgment Day, and a match was set up between Priest and Apollo. We had Bronson Reed, or should I say big Bronson Reed, versus not as big Tommaso Ciampa. Ciampa threw his jacket right at Reed, and this was a good match here. I enjoyed it. Reed did the old Dr. Death Steve Williams Oklahoma Stampede power slam, used his power, and then he tried to come off the apron on the outside of the ring, but Ciampa caught him with a knee. Match went back and forth. They were trading strikes, and Ciampa, after several attempts, finally got Reed up for the air raid crash. Big pop for that. However, Reed kicked out, and then guess what happened? Nakamura showed up. Nakamura distracted Ciampa, and once again, Ciampa gets distracted. He goes outside the ring, yells at Nakamura. Reed takes advantage, gets him back in the ring, and picks up the victory with the tsunami, which got a good reaction from the crowd. Once again, stupid babyface Ciampa getting distracted. Is Nakamura a heel now? Like, that was a dick thing to do, to come out there and get involved in the match when Ciampa said, you know, I'll let it pass this one time. Nakamura was kind of an ass, but whatever. I'm just tired of these distraction finishes. I think they rely on them way too often, and especially when it makes the babyface look like a complete idiot. We then had Liv Morgan interviewed backstage, and she talked about how Rhea Ripley was responsible for injuring Raquel, hurting her knee, but Raquel will be back soon. She said that Liv said that she was the last person to defeat Rhea, and she was going to do it again, or she would give it her best effort trying. She then left, and then we had the new women's tag team champions, Chelsea Green and Sonya Deville. They were upset that they were not interviewed. Rhea Ripley then showed up, and they started kissing up to Rhea Ripley and then took their leave. This was the only time we saw the new tag team champions on this show, by the way. We had what was supposed to be Liv Morgan versus Rhea Ripley, but Liv was blindsided by Rhea from behind during the entrance. That's another thing that both WWE and AEW are overdoing at this point. The segment where somebody's coming to the ring and they get jumped from behind. Like, I feel like it happens almost on a weekly basis now. At least one of the companies is doing it every week. And I'm sick of that too. I'm sick of contract signings. I'm sick of this with the blindsiding people, and I'm sick of the stupid baby faces. We had Rhea Ripley just beat the hell out of Liv for several minutes, took the steel chair, did the old Brian Pillman, wrapped Liv's arm in the chair, and then stomped on it, not once, but twice, and was taunting Liv. Liv was crying. Liv was doing a great job here. I mean, she was selling it very well. And yeah, Rhea just completely being a monster here with this vicious assault on Liv Morgan. This was a good angle. And I give credit to Liv for her reaction to this. I mean, she was in tears. She was in so much pain. And she was being checked out backstage. We had Alpha Academy interviewed, or not interviewed, they just cut a backstage promo. And they proposed the idea of an Academy rules match, since last week they did the Viking rules match. We had Maxine Dupree issuing a challenge to Valhalla for a match. And then later on, Valhalla with the Viking Raiders in some scary room accepted the challenge. That will take place on next week's Raw. We had Ricochet come into the ring, calling out his homeboy, Logan Paul, to come to the ring. Ricochet vented for a bit, said that while Logan does put in all the work that you need to be a WWE superstar, he's still an arrogant prick and doesn't respect what the WWE superstars do. He officially challenged Logan for SummerSlam. Logan showed up, like, jumped Ricochet from behind, and he had his camera on his phone. He was recording. He accepted the challenge. He started insulting the fans, said one of them needs to get laid, called him a stupid virgin. And then Ricochet got back up, super kicked Logan, and then hit him with a standing shooting star press and got the best of Logan Paul. Logan Paul will be on Raw again next week. Pretty entertaining segment here. Once again, I thought Ricochet did okay on his promo work. I mean, it definitely could have been worse, and Logan was very entertaining here, and the Virgin line was funny. I enjoyed it. Good stuff here. We'll see what they do next week to get the final build-in before SummerSlam. We had Shayna Baszler backstage wanting not a match with Ronda Rousey, but a fight. And then later on in the show, Ronda Rousey accepted this challenge for a fight at SummerSlam. Now, does this mean we're getting a fight pit match? I mean, I hope so. I think they should do the fight pit. Like, I don't think we've seen one for the women. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I know we saw Riddle in a couple of them, and we did see one on the main roster, but I think that's it. I only think we've seen 2 or 3, and all of them involved Riddle. Ryan sent in a $1 super chat, no comment, although he did say that was a funny segment. Dylan said no fight pit for the women yet. Well, there you go. If there was ever a match tailor-made for Ronda Rousey and Shayna Baszler for that matter, it would be the fight pit match. Let's do it. First ever women's fight pit match at SummerSlam. They did not confirm this, but I mean, why else would they do these promos like this and put the emphasis on fight? Backstage, Logan Paul said he was going to be on Raw next week, and he's coming to pop Ricochet's big bald head. I look forward to seeing him try. Damian Priest versus Apollo Crews. Basically a showcase match for Damian Priest. People are like, well, they're not pushing Apollo. I mean, I think we've seen as far as Apollo's going to go in WWE, and I think he's going to be enhancement talent at this point. Priest beat him up. I mean, Apollo did get in a little bit of offense. His big move was a top rope crossbody, but momentum did not last for him, and then Priest got the win with the South of Heaven chokeslam. Not much else to say about it. Imperium came to the ring for a confrontation with Drew McIntyre. McIntyre came to the ring and wanted an Intercontinental Championship match right there on Raw. But Imperium, they had other ideas. Gunther said the fans were degenerates. He wasn't going to do it there, but it will happen at SummerSlam. And McIntyre, just like he failed at Clash at the Castle, he was humiliated at WrestleMania. He will be humiliated again at SummerSlam, according to Gunther. McIntyre brought up how it was a triple threat match and him and Sheamus were having their issues. This is going to be a different story when it's one-on-one. And then McIntyre ended up challenging Ludwig Kaiser, since Kaiser was getting on the mic and complaining and not happy with McIntyre. We got that match, McIntyre versus Kaiser. Highlight of this was, well, actually, this had a few highlights. One of them being Corey Graves, who was on commentary basically doing his impression of Kaiser. And I thought this was great. I thought he was great here. Hilarious. Pretty dead on with his impression. Good match here between the two of them. Went back and forth for a bit. McIntyre delivered an avalanche air raid crash. Kaiser stayed in the fight, but McIntyre did get the win with the Claymore. No real surprise here. I mean, I think it was pretty obvious that McIntyre was picking up the W in this one. Gunther attacked McIntyre after the match, and Matt Riddle came out there and tried to help, but the numbers game caught up with him. You had Vinci out there. Gunther power bombed Riddle, but then McIntyre was able to fight back, and then McIntyre ended up power bombing Gunther through the announce table. Pretty cool spot here, looked very good. He held up the IC title, and we are off to the races for SummerSlam. Solid angle here to set up the SummerSlam match. And I like it, although I'm not sure what it means, if it means anything. But the fact that Gunther specifically brought up how McIntyre has failed on big match occasions, it makes you wonder, will McIntyre actually win this time, or will he lose yet again? I can't imagine Gunther losing before he beats Honky Tonk Man's record. It has to happen, right? Surely McIntyre is not going to be the one that ends the run of Gunther. But yeah, it's intriguing. Definitely intriguing as we get into SummerSlam. Could be a match of the year candidate here. I mean, WrestleMania was fantastic, and I'm really looking forward to this one. This might be, I mean, this has got to be up there as far as my most anticipated matches of the card. But we'll talk more about that coming up when we do our predictions video. That'll be next week. We had our final segment of the evening, which was the contract signing. Yes, a contract signing. I do not like these segments. I especially don't like when they're advertising the match on WWE.com and they got the graphic, but the match is not official. Shouldn't you sign the contract first and then start advertising the match? Now, some people told me on Twitter that in combat sports, they do this all the time. This is WWE. They control the script. Like, they don't have to do stupid stuff and advertise a match before you have it set in stone. Like, I don't understand the logic with it. And I'm just bored with these segments. Like, I feel like it's done when they really don't know what else to do. The writers are like, well, I don't know. We got a couple weeks to kill before the pay-per-view. Let's just do a contract signing segment, and they're out there. You have the table there and everything. Like, I just feel like it's lazy writing. Like, they should find other types of segments to do to build intrigue for a match. Just my opinion, though. Never been a fan of these segments. And yeah, letter grade down, Dylan. That's the way it goes. Oofman Entertainment sent in a $5 super chat. Thank you, Oofman. Says, Twitter, don't you mean X? Yeah, Twitter is now X, everybody. And WWE was very quick to get with the program. They had the trending now on X. They had the X logo. What is going on here with Elon Musk? I mean, this seems like a very bad idea. Like, Twitter is one of the biggest social media sites in the world. And why would you change the name for no good reason? I don't get it, but I'm not a billionaire like Vince McMahon and Elon Musk. You know, they all have one thing in common. They're billionaires. I'm not. Anyways, back to the contract signing. Rollins signed it, and Bálor was trying to cut a promo. Crowd was singing Rollins's song. Rollins came out, signed the contract. Then the rest of Judgment Day showed up to ambush Bálor, and Bálor talked about how he's been going insane for the past 7 years. It's like the 7-year itch, and at SummerSlam, Rollins is going to be the 7-year bitch. We had the fight break out. Rollins overwhelmed, of course. He got hit with the Money in the Bank briefcase. Sami Zayn ran down with a steel chair to try and get revenge from earlier, but Rhea Ripley took the chair away from him. Damian Priest took out Zayn with the South of Heaven, and they went back to the attack on Seth Rollins. Finn Bálor came off the top with the coup de grace. And Judgment Day stood tall. There was one key line also earlier when they were talking. Rollins brought up how even if Bálor wins, Damian Priest is going to cash in Money in the Bank on Bálor right there on the spot. And they both know it because Bálor would do the same exact thing to him. And Rollins vowed it to be the end of Judgment Day at SummerSlam. They're really hitting hard this idea that Priest is going to cash in at SummerSlam. Will he? I mean, it is intriguing, although at the same time, now I feel like when I'm watching this match, I'm just going to be waiting until Priest shows up. Like, I feel like the rest of the match is just going to be anticlimactic because you know it's not ending until something happens with Damian Priest. That's the only negative to this, but you know, it is keeping us guessing as to who might leave with the title. There's a lot of possibilities here. Building Nexus sent in a $2 super chat. Thank you for that. Says, what are the chances Damian Priest actually cashes in on Bálor? I could definitely see that happening. Like, I could see any of the three main scenarios play out where Bálor leaves as champ, Priest leaves as champ, or Rollins leaves as champ. We'll talk about this when we do our predictions, but I kind of like the idea of Bálor just winning the title, and then Judgment Day has a lot of power. You know, Rhea Ripley's got the women's title, Dominic has the North American title, Priest has the briefcase, and then Bálor has the world title. And they can act like everything's great with Judgment Day, but you have to wonder in the back of your mind, will Priest ever cash in on Bálor? I mean, they could really do an interesting storyline here. But again, we'll talk more about this when we do our predictions video and get the panel's thoughts on it. I think the most interesting scenario is Bálor winning the title. But we'll see what happens. I mean, I would not be surprised if Rollins retains or if Priest cashes in and wins the title. So all in all, Raw was okay. It did solid build up for SummerSlam, although it was fairly by the numbers, the usual stuff, the distraction finishes, and the contract signing at the end. Not at the level of last week's show. I think it was pretty skippable, but you did have a few good angles on the show. Like, I enjoyed the Rhea Ripley, Liv Morgan segment, and Logan Paul did a good job. I'll go with a B-. I thought it had its moments. Not a great Raw, but solid. And that's all I have to say about Raw. Thank you all so much for tuning in tonight. I very much appreciate your viewership and support. If you liked the video, please give it a thumbs up. Leave a comment on YouTube. Let me know your thoughts on Raw, what you liked, what you didn't like, and stay tuned to NoDQ.com for the very latest wrestling news and rumors. Take care, everybody. I'll see you next time. And remember, say yes to NoDQ.com.